Bad debt is crippling for businesses. Cash flow really is key for the survival of a business. Lots of businesses forget that a sale is a debt until it's paid for, so they're busy out there making the sales, not bringing the money in, and suddenly the books aren't balancing, and it's absolutely crippling. Top tips for businesses on avoiding bad debt would involve things such as knowing the customer, setting credit limits, having an effective credit control system in place, and dealing with excuses for non-payment. One of the clients we work with is Giraffe Media Limited. They came to us having already used other collection agencies and other firms of solicitors, in fact, to recover their debt. They've got a good in-house credit control procedure, but they were finding that once they got to a certain stage, they needed to pass things on for a more formalised recovery or something with a bit more teeth.
I'm financial controller for Giraffe Media. We publish a handbag-sized magazine, Wedding Ideas magazine, which is having an extremely successful time at the moment, which is fantastic.
It's a whole brand that incorporates shows, the Wedding Ideas Awards, which happen every January, and it's the only consumer-led national wedding awards that there are. There's also the shop, there's our forum, there's our website, and soon to be launched is a massive online directory of services, wedding services throughout the UK.
We have a broad range of debtors. Our business mix means that we have sort of large corporate advertisers and then very small sole traders. Lots of ladies that make stationery and tiaras and things at home, right up to the larger corporates that have obviously a very different need and requirement and make different demands on us as a business with regard to credit terms and their willingness at times to pay us back. At times, once you've bombarded a client with numerous phone calls and letters and more polite requests to request prepayment, we felt that we needed just that extra bit of clout behind the Giraffe Media name. We felt Michelmores brought that to the party for us.
Once businesses have identified that they've got bad debts and they're looking perhaps for some help in recovering that, the first stage would be what we would call sort of pre-litigation collections. So that's sending a solicitor's letter, a formal demand. It's surprising how often letters may have been sent in-house, but the impact a solicitor's letter can have is quite significant.
A lot of clients, when they see an actual official solicitor's letter, they react differently to receiving a letter from ourselves.
We would follow that up with a collection call, just because we know that quite often a letter can get popped at the bottom of a pile. It's quite difficult when we're on the end of the phone asking for information to ignore us so much. It's about having a strategy in place to deal with the excuses that you're hearing. So checks in the post, when was it sent, or who can sign the cheque. It's just about being able to deal with the genuine problems, but have a strategy for dealing with the excuses.
Michelmores follow up each letter before action with several phone calls, and they're extremely patient on our behalf in that respect, because with some clients we would like to maintain an existing relationship after the debt recovery process, and Michelmores are very sensitive to that for us. Unfortunately, if that doesn't work, we reassess the size of the debt and the position that we're in, and we decide together with Michelmores as to whether it's worth pursuing the client any further.
We're very mindful of the fact that clients don't want to be left with sort of two options: send a letter. If that doesn't work, you're forced to issue proceedings. So there could be a whole host of things that we do. If we have managed to make contact with a debtor, then talking to them, negotiating, perhaps bringing about settlement, bearing in mind sometimes the costs of proceeding, trying to work out whether it's a good cost-benefit ratio to go ahead with proceedings, and just gathering as much information we can about a debtor so that we can know, if we do take the step of issuing proceedings, that we're not throwing good money after bad.
The choice going forward is usually between litigation or perhaps using some form of insolvency process to recover the debt. Litigation can involve the small claims court, which is a more simplified procedure if the debt is less than £5,000. Insolvency can be very effective, for example, service of a statutory demand, but it's very important to bear in mind that you cannot do that if there is any question that the debt is actually disputed. I think it's really important when a business is looking for debt recovery solutions for it to consider 5 key points which I think are essential for effective debt recovery. First, the advisor must be proactive. I think that's absolutely key, particularly for debt recovery work. Second, there must be flexibility on fees, perhaps linking the payment of fees to successful recovery of the debt. Third, there needs to be a real interest on the part of the advisor to understand in depth the client's business, because that will help in them working together and hopefully forming a long-term relationship. Fourth, the advisor needs to keep the client informed. It's so often the case that there are complaints that solicitors or debt recovery professionals don't tell the client what is happening, and weeks can go past, and that's obviously very frustrating. One way that we try to avoid that situation is with our web portal, which provides clients with instant access to exactly what's happening on their files. And finally, I think a really important point is for the debt recovery team to be supported by experienced people in other relevant areas, particularly litigation and insolvency.
Michelmores works with a broad range of clients, from sort of your smaller owner-managed businesses right up to national and international corporations when we're recovering debts. But really the strategies that we apply are the same in any case. We can help with things like running reports on businesses during the credit checking process, helping with the letters that might be drafted as part of a chase process, looking at a credit control procedure, and obviously reviewing terms and conditions is something that we do fairly often to make sure that the interest is as tight as it can be. And also one of the things that clients have found useful and we've been able to offer is seminars and training on their credit control function, and just an understanding of the legal collections process as a whole, so they have an understanding in-house before it's passed out perhaps to us for collection.
We've worked closely with some accountants to come up with a sort of a health check that we can go into our clients and talk to them about their procedures and their systems to try to minimise the risk of bad debt. It's all about trying to keep the cash coming in.
I think the really unique thing with Michelmores is their personal touch, absolutely, and their complete interest, and they work very hard for us as a client. They have a real desire to get the money back for us, which is obviously of utmost importance to us.
I think the important point to remember is that even though trading conditions are really difficult at the moment, and there are a lot of threats to cash flow which can damage business, actually with proper advice, businesses can take some relatively simple steps to avoid problems.
We've been working with Giraffe for a while now, and we've had some good success. We've made recoveries on matters that they'd previously passed out that they hadn't managed to make recoveries. Their in-house credit control is still working very well, and we've managed to get a seamless transition between them and us. So things are looking good, and we hope to continue working with them.
We haven't looked back since, really. We've turned it around. We don't have a debt problem anymore, a debtors problem, and they're so easy to work with, and also share our humour, which is quite important to us.
There is somebody at the other end of the phone that knows their case history, understands what's gone on, understands the position of Giraffe Media, and is prepared to fight our corner.
Cash flow stalling is crippling for a business, but there is a lot out there that can be done. Getting advice on running a good in-house collections procedure, and then a trusted advisor that you can pass matters out to recover the debt. Michelmores work with a range of clients, and we hope that we allow them to get on with doing what they do best in running their businesses, whilst we get on with bringing the money in.